travelers. Welcome back to Laura's Travel Talk. Today we'll be taking you on a 3-day weekend getaway in Yellowstone National Park. Yellowstone is not only the first national park in the United States, but also the first in the world. Spanning over 2.2 million acres, this park is a geothermal wonderland, boasting half of the world's geysers. Yellowstone was established on March 1st in 1872 by President Ulysses S. Grant, making it the first national park in the world. This groundbreaking decision was made to preserve the park's unique geothermal features, diverse wildlife, and stunning landscapes for future generations. Yellowstone set the standard for the national park system, inspiring the creation of protected natural areas around the globe. Today, it's recognized as a UNESCO World Heritage Site and continues to be a place where visitors can connect with nature and experience the wonders of the natural world. There are a few sites you simply can't miss. Old Faithful, which is the park's most famous geyser. The Grand Prismatic Spring, that's the largest hot spring in the United States. And Yellowstone Lake. It is the largest high-elevation lake in North America. And then one of the best ways to explore Yellowstone is by taking a scenic driving tour. The park's Grand Loop Road is a 142-mile figure-8 loop that takes you past many of the park's top attractions, including geyser basins, waterfalls, and wildlife viewing areas. Be sure to keep your eyes peeled for wildlife as you're driving, because you will likely see bison, elk, bear, and moose. And while we're at it, I say bison, I want to differentiate bison and buffalo. They are two different species. However, bison in North America are also qualified as being called buffalo. But they have larger heads, they have that hump on their back, and their overall size is larger. An actual buffalo has longer, curvier horns. Anyway, I just thought I'd throw that in. So before we get into the park and the driving loop, let's talk about accommodations. Yellowstone has something for everybody. If you want to stay within the park, you can consider booking a room at one of the historic lodges like the Old Faithful Inn or the Lake Yellowstone Inn Hotel. Those who prefer camping, Yellowstone has 12 campgrounds with over 2,000 sites ranging from primitive to fully equipped. And then there's many, many hotels outside of the park at West Yellowstone, Gardner, and Cody. And if you're planning a 3-day weekend in Yellowstone, the best way to get there depends on where you're coming from. But flying into Bozeman in Montana or Jackson Hole in Wyoming or Idaho Falls in Idaho, really the easiest is flying into Bozeman because you can drive straight down to West Yellowstone, and that is the most common entrance and the most popular. So I'm going to take you on our 3-day weekend and tell you what we did, and then you can make it your own. But we flew into Bozeman, and it's about a 45-minute drive to West Yellowstone. West Yellowstone is a little town that really is made to cater to Yellowstone National Park. We stayed at the Bucking Moose, the little cabins you see there in the pictures, charming. Buffalo Bar and Grill, all the places around you to eat are based around Yellowstone. And then you can get up early in the morning and you're in the park in 15 minutes. I'm going to see if I can't record this as the video plays. But we decided on day 1 to go into the park and do the lower loop. And that is where most of the geysers are. So you go through these gates, you just buy your ticket when you drive through, and you can see the lower loop there, all the geysers, and we thought we'd see the animals the next day. So we drive in and we're going to turn down, and lo and behold, what? Right there on the side of the road. That elk. Doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. Don't mind all these cars driving by, mister. It's incredible, I'm telling you. Every time you turn a corner, there's something new to see. But you first come upon the lower geyser basin and the fountain pots, and these things are unbelievable. I mean, look at that. You can't really tell, but the water is at the top. What you're seeing is crystal clear water, and you can see down in and see how the formation is inside underneath the water. I'm trying to capture it for you in these pictures, but that is the fountain paint pots, is that area. And then you can walk along. They have the board. Oh, look at that one with the green in the middle. Seriously? I'm telling you, I can't do it justice. And there's my husband standing out on the edge because they have all these walkways, these wooden boardwalks like that in every area. So it's really cool. Look at that one. Holy cow. So the next one that you come along to is the Midway Geyser and the Grand Prismatic Geyser, and that's the one you see the most photographed because it's so beautiful. So you can see it was still cold. We were there in August, but it was cold in the morning, so you're seeing all that steam come off and it makes it appear to be foggy. And so some of these pictures I had to pull because we couldn't get close enough with all the steam. But you can see again those boardwalks. And then if you were able to get an aerial shot with a drone, that is how this place looks. And it is awesome. I mean, awesome is really the only word to explain it. But you can just walk for ever on all these little boardwalks and see everything that there is to see, and they really make it pretty easy there at Yellowstone. Very cool. So next up, the granddaddy of them all, the Upper Geyser Basin, where you'll find Old Faithful. You can see it on the map. On your way in, you see some more of these springs that are steaming, and they're a beautiful color of blue. They're not quite as deep. And then my husband thought he'd be funny here.
Laura lost her hat.
I did not. And then you can hear me in the background saying, I did not lose my hat. Anyway, here's another spring that's much deeper and that beautiful shade of blue. And this is the Old Faithful Inn. And the Old Faithful Inn was built in 1904, and it is the largest log hotel in the world. And it's hard to capture it as well on the inside because it's so enormous. But on the ledge there is where people will find a spot to sit and just sit back and enjoy when Old Faithful decides to erupt. And here are some different footages of what we saw when it erupted. And while you're waiting in the lodge, you can get a coffee or a hot chocolate, or there's a whole restaurant there. And you don't have to be staying there to enjoy all this. But they also have a watch timer up on the wall that everybody can see when Old Faithful should erupt. And it's really every 60 to 90 minutes. But it is unbelievable how it just keeps pumping out the water and keeps pumping out the water. And I think it is an absolute bucket list must-see. Next up, you can see we're down there at the bottom of the loop, and you've seen most of the geysers, but a lot of people drive by the West Thumb Geyser. They don't know it's down there, but this is gorgeous to me. You see all these springs, and they're right along the shore of the beginning of Lake Yellowstone. So people don't realize, and look at what a fantastic backdrop that makes for these pictures, because those springs are super gorgeous blue, and look how deep that one is. And then you come upon the basin there, and you start driving a little further, and then it opens up to the beautiful and fabulous Yellowstone Lake. I mean, look at that. My God. Really? Come on, people. It's just breathtaking. And Yellowstone Lake is at 7,730 feet above sea level, and it's the largest body of water in North America, and it's the second largest in the world at so high of an elevation. So that makes it kind of unique. And you can see there's a lot of fly fishermen there that really enjoy the spot. And what cracks me up about it is that they're just out there throwing in their fishing line, and there's some just bison cruising along on the side of the bank. Okay, beautiful day. After all that activity and you drive past the lake, you go up by Lake Village, cross the fishing bridge, and then up through Canyon Village, and then come around to the top northwest side of the loop, and you're in the Norris Geyser Basin. The Norris Geyser Basin is really cool because it's got Monument Geyser Basin, artist paint pots, barrel springs, and then it's got the Steamboat Geyser that a lot of people are unaware of because it is not shooting off every day like Old Faithful does. This can go for a couple months, but Steamboat Geyser, it shoots up 400 feet in the air. Old Faithful is only around 180 feet, and it is the world's tallest active geyser. So on day 2, we got up early, and you're going to do the upper loop on day 2, and you're just basically driving around, and it's not like day 1 where you're stopping to see geysers, but your hope is that you're going to run across some animals as you're walking along the paths, such as this. I mean, I came around the corner and it's like, doe, a deer, a female deer, cleaning up her little farm. Okay, you'll find that sometimes I can't help myself as you get to know me. Anyway, they were so close to me and just staring at me as I'm on that boardwalk, and I thought, this is so cool because they're not even frightened or moving along. So I thought, well, I just better get moving because, like them, you guys are probably sick of all this footage of them, but I can't stop. Because then I come around the corner and they're calling to each other. And then there's more in the bushes. Stop! So then we drive a little bit further, and this was super cool because we really wanted to see moose. And they were hard to see. They weren't out much, but you can see they have such a distinctive head shape. You can't mistake them for anybody else out there. But it was really kind of fun to see. This was the only time we saw them on the whole drive. And then you keep driving along and you see beautiful sights like these waterfalls. I mean, come on. Everything's beautiful. It doesn't matter where you look. Everything is beautiful up there. And then there were some bison that were just, along the side of the road as you're driving. Oh, wait. Did I say on the side of the road? Oh, yeah. Whose road is it now? I ask you. Anyway, and then we saw some more elk. And the only thing we never managed to see on this trip was bear. We really wanted to see a bear, and there were a few sightings from some other people. Of course, while you're there, driving through the mountains, you come across the Continental Divide. For those of you that are not familiar with the Continental Divide, that is the mountain ridge that runs north and south and divides the water flow or the watershed for the continent. So everything flowing east to the Atlantic Ocean or the Gulf of Mexico, and then everything else flows west to the Pacific Ocean, and it has those separate. At this point, the elevation's only about 8,200 feet, but the highest point is somewhere in excess of 14,000 feet, and it's in Colorado. So at this point, all I can say is Yellowstone National Park needs to be on your bucket list, because this place, I couldn't even define all of it, and this is kind of a long video. So thanks for sticking with it, and I hope you enjoyed it, and if you have any questions, post them in the comments, and we'll see you next week. Until then, look out for those bison crossing the road.